Hello, students, and welcome to Scholar IAS, your one stop solution to UPSC preparation. I am Shubhangi Sharma, your faculty for history. And, students, in this particular lecture, we are going to carry forward with the second part of the post independence histories topic, that is Nehruvian era. As I have already told you, post independence history forms a very important part with respect to your GS1 mains examination, wherein there is a likelihood that you might get a question from this particular time period, and hence we are going to talk about the Nehruvian era, and under that we are going to take forward the discussion which we were doing in previous week. So let's begin. Now, students, as I've just told you, this particular lecture is based on the post-independence history, that is the Nehruvian era from 1947 to 1964, and this is the part 2 of this particular lecture. Now, students, in our previous lecture, we had discussed some important topics pertaining to the condition of India just after the independence. इंडिपेंडेंस के जस्ट बाद इंडिया की क्या सिचुएशन थी, क्या इंपॉर्टेंट डेवलपमेंट्स हुए उस टाइम पीरियड में, उसके बारे में हमने डिस्कशन किया था, जिसमें सबसे पहले हमने इंडियन इंडिपेंडेंस एक्ट 1947 के बारे में पढ़ा था, जिसके अंदर हमें ये पता चला था कि इंडिया का इंडिपेंडेंस क्या क्या बेसिस पर हुआ था, क्या इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स थे जिसके बेसिस पे इंडिया को गवर्न करना था जस्ट आफ्टर इंडिया अटेन्ड इंडिपेंडेंस. Then, students, after that we had understood another important topic, that is about the integration of states. I had told you that how India was divided into many princely states, and that is why they needed to be integrated in order to make India a single union, and this was something that was done by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in a very efficient manner. Apart from that, students, another important point that we had studied was pertaining to the first government after independence. Herein, students, we had understood that both the unions or both the dominions that were formed after independence, that is Pakistan and India, had to be governed on the basis of some pointers that were given as a part of the Indian Independence Act along with the Government of India Act 1935. Under that, students, the Governor General of our country was something that Lord Mountbatten had already held this post. So India did not choose any particular Indian to become the Governor General. Lord Mountbatten continued as the Governor General. On the other hand, Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister. Okay, so after that, students, after the first government was formed, then came the most important event in our country, that is the partition of India. So India was partitioned into two countries, that is India and Pakistan, and under that we had understood some important topics such as how India needed to be divided into these two countries, how were the resources divided, how was the boundary drawn, and under that we had studied the Radcliffe Boundary Commission, the division of resources, etc. Now, students, in this particular lecture, we are going to take forward these same aspects, wherein now we are going to talk about assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, which was a very important event that had happened. Then, students, we are going to talk about the first general elections under which Congress emerged as the single largest party and Nehru became the first Prime Minister of our country. Forwarding to that, students, next we are going to talk about all the important decisions that were taken by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru under his term. Okay, so let's begin. Now, students, in our previous lecture, when we were talking about the partition of India, we came to know that a lot of population was traveling either to Pakistan or coming back to India. Basically, most of the Muslims that were residing in India, which now became a part of Pakistan, had to leave to Pakistan, and most of the Hindus who were a part of Pakistan had to come to India. And under that, students, the situation of refugees became very confusing. It was a very bad position. And here in, students, we are going to first understand that what were the measures that were taken by the governments of both the countries to tackle the situation of refugees. Under that, students, the refugee settlement, as I have just told you, became the immediate challenge for both the governments, that is India and Pakistan, once the partition had happened. Apart from this, the Indian government established an emergency committee of the cabinet to deal with the crisis in Delhi, and apart from this, a Ministry of Relief and Rehabilitation was set up to look after the refugees. So students, as we all know, because a very large amount of population was moving to and fro from one country to another, they were not in a good situation, and that is why certain relief measures needed to be taken up in order to give these refugees a better life. Under that, students, as a part of our country, the Indian government had established this emergency committee along with the Ministry of Relief and Rehabilitation, which would take care of the needs of these refugees. Now, students, to resolve the problem of refugees and restore communal peace in the two countries, especially in Bengal, that is East Pakistan as well as West Bengal, the Indian Prime Minister, that is Jawaharlal Nehru, and Pakistan Prime Minister Liaquat Ali Khan signed an agreement on April 8, 1950, which famously came to be known as the Delhi Pact or the Delhi Pact on Minorities or the Liaquat Nehru Pact. तो स्टूडेंट्स, ये जो रेफ्यूजीज की सिचुएशन थी, इसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए दोनों ही कंट्रीज के प्राइम मिनिस्टर आगे आए, दैट इज जवाहरलाल नेहरू एंड लियाकत अली खान, और इन्होंने 8 अप्रैल 1950 को एक एग्रीमेंट साइन किया जिसको फेमसली दिल्ली पैक्ट ऑन माइनॉरिटीज या लियाकत नेहरू पैक्ट बोलते हैं. Now students, we are going to talk about some important key features that were envisaged as the part of Delhi Pact. Now, under that, students, this particular pact envisaged the appointment of ministries from minority communities both in Pakistan and India at the center and provincial levels. So naturally, students, once the partition had happened, of course, in both the parts, that is in East Pakistan and West Bengal, there were people who were belonging to the minority community. That is, in East Pakistan, there were a lot of Hindus, and in West Bengal, there were a lot of Muslims who served as the minority community in that areas. Now, in order to take care of these people, it was envisaged in the Delhi Pact that ministers from these minority communities will be holding positions at center and provincial level. Apart from this, commissions pertaining to minority were to be set up together with the Commission of Inquiry to look into the probable causes behind the communal riots and to recommend steps to prevent recurrence of such incidents. स्टूडेंट्स, जब हमने पार्टीशन की बात करी थी तो हमने देखा था इट वॉज once the partition was announced, it was replete with examples of a lot of communal violence, particularly in Punjab. However, students, in Bengal, due to the presence of Mahatma Gandhi, the violence just did not took place initially. But later on, there was a lot of communal violence that was also happening in the parts of Bengal, and that is why certain minority commissions and a commission of inquiry needed to be set up in order to see that what were the causes behind these communal riots and to recommend steps to stop this kind of communal violence. Apart from this, India and Pakistan also agreed to include representatives of the minority community in the cabinets of East Pakistan and West Bengal. So these 2 points are something which are quite similar in the nature. Apart from the students, there was creation of an agency that was entrusted with the task of recovering and rehabilitating abducted women. So here in students, when we talk about refugees, one of the most worst situations was pertaining to women that were part of these refugee camps who were moving to and fro from both the countries. They were not in a good situation, and that is why a separate agency which was entrusted with the task of recovering and rehabilitating abducted women was set up. Now, here in students, an important point to note here will be that these provisions of the Liaquat Nehru Pact were severely criticized by the Hindu nationalists such as Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and K.C. Neogi. As a part of this, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee even resigned from the cabinet of Nehru in protest. So basically, students, these Hindu nationalists did not like the provisions that were a part of the Nehru Liaquat Pact, and they pointed out that they are not helping the Hindu minorities in any manner. And that is why in protest, particularly Shyama Prasad Mukherjee resigned the cabinet of Nehru. तो स्टूडेंट्स, यहाँ तक हमने समझ लिया है कि रेफ्यूजीज़ की क्या कंडीशन थी. रेफ्यूजीज़ बहुत ही बुरी कंडीशन में थे, बहुत ज़्यादा कम्युनल वायलेंस चल रही थी, विमेन की बहुत ही ज़्यादा दयनीय स्थिति थी, जिसकी वजह से इन सारे मेजर्स को टैकल करने के लिए इंडियन गवर्नमेंट और पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट ने मिलकर एक पैक्ट बनाया जिसको नेहरू लियाकत पैक्ट भी बोलते हैं, और उसके प्रोविजंस को हमने डिस्कस किया है. Now students, we are going to talk about another important event that had happened in the times of just after independence. Here in students, the event is of course assassination of Gandhi, and this happened on the evening of 30th January 1948, wherein Mahatma Gandhi was shot dead by a person known as Nathuram Godse at Birla Mansion in New Delhi. Now, here in students, Nathuram Godse was immediately tried and sentenced to death. Students, when we were talking about the division of resources, particularly when we were talking about the division of finances, we had seen that Indian government had withheld certain finances that belonged to Pakistan. And under that, as a result of this, Gandhi went on a fast unto death and made sure that Pakistan got the money that they wanted. And because of this, many Hindu nationalists were very angry on Gandhi. And this is one reason which is considered the reason behind his assassination. So that is why one reason that why Nathuram Godse tried to assassinated Mahatma Gandhi can be because of the money that he got to Pakistan as a part of his fast unto death. Apart from the students, after the assassination of Gandhi, one important event happened. That is, on February 1948, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh or the RSS was banned by the government. However, students, an important point to note here will be that RSS was not directly involved in the assassination of Gandhi. Rather, this organization was seen to have in hand in the Punjab violence. So students, when we were talking about the partition, which was followed by a lot of violence, communal violence in Punjab, this is something wherein the government felt that the RSS might have had a hand in this, and that is why it was banned on February 4th, 1948. However, students, this particular ban was lifted in July 1949. तो यहाँ तक स्टूडेंट्स हमने समझ ली है द कंडीशन ऑफ रेफ्यूजीज एंड द इम्पोर्टेंट इवेंट ऑफ assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. After that, students, another important point that we need to know as a part of Nehruvian era is the first general elections that had happened in 1950. So here in students, the first important point that you must know is that our constitution, that is the Indian constitution, was completely developed in 1950, and as a part of this, the government wanted to go in for general elections to constitute the House of People or the Lok Sabha as provided in the constitution. As a part of the students, the office of the Election Commission had been set up in a small manner on 25th January 1950, wherein the first Chief Election Commissioner of India was Sukumar Sen, who was an Indian Civil Services officer who had assumed office on 21st March 1950. तो स्टूडेंट्स जैसे ही 1950 में इंडिया की जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन थी कम्प्लीटली डेवलप हो गई थी, उसके बाद गवर्नमेंट ने पॉइंट आउट किया कि हमें पहले जनरल इलेक्शंस करने चाहिए लोकसभा बनाने के लिए, जो कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का प्रोविजन था. एंड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस सबसे पहले इलेक्शन कमीशन सेटअप हुई 25 जनवरी 1950 को, जिसके पहले चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर बने सुकुमार सेन, जो कि एक इंडियन सिविल सर्विसेज के ऑफिसर थे. Now here in students, you must know that there were 53 political parties who were participating in the first general elections for the Lok Sabha seat. Herein, these included 14 national parties according to a report that was given by the Election Commission of India, and besides this, there were many independent parties as well. यानी कि टोटल 53 पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज थी, जिसमें कि 14 हमारी नेशनल पार्टीज थी. नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, when we talk about the technicalities of the first general election, you must know that there were three types of constituencies, wherein there were 314 constituencies with single seats, 86 constituencies with 2 seats, and 1 constituency with 3 seats. And that is why the total seats were 489 from 401 constituencies. Alright, here in students, the Indian National Congress contested on 472 seats out of the 489 and won 364 seats, which was a stupendous majority of the seats to the Lok Sabha. As a part of this, the first Lok Sabha or the House of People was constituted by the Election Commission on April 2nd, 1952. Until this point, students, the Indian Constituent Assembly had served as an interim legislature. So the Indian Constituent Assembly was something that we had discussed in our previous lecture, which was serving as an interim legislature, and after that, once the general elections were done, the Indian National Congress rose as the major majority power, and they had taken most of the seats. Now here in students, you must know that the speaker of the first Lok Sabha was Ganesh Vasudev Mavalankar, and Jawaharlal Nehru became the first prime minister after the general elections. यानी कि स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पर हमने सबसे पहले देख लिया है कि टोटल कितनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज थी, कितनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में कितनी सीट्स थी, इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस ने कितनी सीट्स पर कंटेस्ट किया और कितनी सीट्स पर वो जीते, जो कि एक बहुत ही बड़ी मेजॉरिटी थी। उसके अलावा जो फर्स्ट स्पीकर थे लोकसभा के वो थे जीवी मावलंकर, एंड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द विक्ट्री ऑफ इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस जवाहरलाल नेहरू बिकेम द फर्स्ट प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ आफ्टर द जनरल इलेक्शंस ऑफ 1950. Now, students, as I had told you, that there were 14 national parties that were prevalent in our country during the time of first general elections. These were the names of all the 14 national parties that were part of it, such as the All India Bharatiya Janasangh, BJS, Bolshevik Party of India, Communist Party of India, Forward Bloc Marxist Group, Forward Bloc Ruikar Group, Akhil Bharatiya Hindu Mahasabha, etc. So you have to remember the names of these 14 national parties as well, students, because we might get questions wherein we are given names of many national parties and we need to answer that what were the national parties that were prevalent at the time of 1950 general elections. Now, students, since we know that after the 1950 elections, Jawaharlal Nehru was formally elected as the first Prime Minister of our country, now we are directly going to talk about all the measures that were taken by Jawaharlal Nehru as a part of his Prime Minister tenure. Under that, students, in 1926 and 1927, Nehru was in Europe, and herein he came in contact with the socialist and other leftist leaders and was very much interested into the concept of socialism. Now, herein, students, the first important point that you need to know is that socialism is kind of a political and economic ideology wherein the factors of production are held by a community and not by individuals. So this was one idea from which Nehru was heavily influenced, particularly when he visited Europe in 1926 and 1927, wherein he came into contact with important socialist and leftist party leaders. Apart from the students, in 1927, Nehru attended the Congress of Oppressed Nationalists at Brussels on the behalf of Indian National Congress. Herein, he was one of the honorary presidents along with Einstein, Madame Sonia Sen, Roland Romaine, and George Lansbury. Apart from the students, Nehru also came to understand the international character of US imperialism during his European experience. Now, students, imperialism is something that is absolutely opposite to socialism, wherein imperialism tends to US imperialism is something wherein the people of US wanted more economic and political power by subjugating other nations. So it was in stark contrast with the ideas of socialism, and that is why Nehru was very much impressed by the ideas of socialism. Wherein, students, in 1927, he also visited the Soviet Union and he was very impressed by the achievements of the infant socialist state, that is Russia, and saw Russia as the bulwark against imperialism. So we have understood that what is the concept of socialism, what is the concept of imperialism, and how Nehru came into contact with prominent socialist and leftist leaders and particularly saw Russia as a bulwark against imperialism. Now, students, we are going to talk about the development of foreign policy under Nehru's Prime Minister tenure. And herein, you must know that Nehru realized the importance of the need to have direct contacts with other nations and to cooperate with them in enhancing world peace and freedom. Also, students, he understood the importance of maintaining an identity as a free nation and not to become a satellite of any other nation. Herein, he envisaged a drastic socio-economic and technological transformation that was required for our country. So, students, this is something wherein we are in further slides, we are going to understand the backdrop of the world, the condition of the world at that point of time, wherein it was divided into two groups, that is USA and USSR, and there was this tendency of countries supporting one major power. And this is something wherein Nehru realized that we are not going to do that. We are not going to be a satellite of any other bigger power, and we are going to identify ourselves as an independent nation, not relying on any other country. And as a part of this, some important tenets or some important concepts were developed under his foreign policy, such as Panchsheel and non-alignment. Here in students, we are going to start with the concept of Panchsheel. As I have just told you, Panchsheel and non-alignment were the foundations of India's foreign policy, wherein Panchsheel is something that on April 29th, 1954, Panchsheel or the five principles of peaceful coexistence were first formally enunciated in the agreement on trade and intercourse between the Tibet region of China and India. So students, there is this particular issue between India and China pertaining to Tibet region, which we are going to talk about in further slides. Here in the most important point that you need to know as of now is that Panchsheel was something that was envisaged between a meeting of India and China. Apart from the students, the five principles as we have just spoken about pertaining to Panchsheel include mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference in each other's affairs, equality and mutual benefit from each other, and peaceful coexistence. So these are the five principles of Panchsheel and you have to remember them name-wise. Apart from the students, you must know that the Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai and India's Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru in a joint statement elaborated their vision of Panchsheel as the framework for the relations between the two countries, that is India and China, as well as the basis on which the relations with other countries should be maintained. So the inception was something that was a part of a talk between India and China, but this became a very important part of the overall policy of India's overall idea of India's foreign policy, wherein these five principles were also a part for the relations for other countries as well. Now here in students, Panchsheel was incorporated into the 10 principles of international peace and cooperation during the 1955 Bandung Conference of 29 Afro-Asian countries. Now here in students, this particular Bandung Conference that had happened in 1955 among Afro-Asian countries was something wherein the third world countries wanted to see their role in the Cold War era. And as a part of this, a universal relevance was given to the five principles of Panchsheel, which were emphasized in its tenets and were incorporated in a resolution on the peaceful coexistence that was presented by India, Yugoslavia and Sweden. And also students, this concept of Panchsheel was unanimously adopted on December 11th, 1957, also by the United Nations General Assembly. तो यहाँ पर हमें ये समझ में आता है कि पंचशील के जो 5 पॉइंट थे उसको सिर्फ इंडिया और चाइना ने ही नहीं, बांगडुंग कॉन्फ्रेंस के बाद में पर्टिकुलरली बहुत सारी कंट्रीज ने इसको यूनानिमसली अडॉप्ट किया, इसको एक यूनिवर्सल रिकॉग्निशन मिला. Apart from this, in 1961, students, the Conference of Non-Aligned Nations in Belgrade accepted Panchsheel as the basic principle at the center of non-aligned movement. Now, what is this non-aligned movement? We are going to discuss about it in coming slides. As of now, students, we are going to stop our discussion on Panchsheel. I would like to give you a quick recap of what we have studied as a part of the second part of Nehruvian era. So today we have completed topics, that is assassination of Gandhi, Nehru comes to power, Nehru and socialism, and Nehru's foreign policy along with Panchsheel. So these are some topics that have been covered in your second lecture. अंडर दैट स्टूडेंट, सबसे पहले हमने रेफ्यूजीज की सिचुएशन के बारे में बात करना शुरू किया था. रेफ्यूजीज जो कि इंडिया और पाकिस्तान का पार्टीशन जब हुआ था उस टाइम पे जो हिंदूज थे जो इंडिया आना चाह रहे थे पाकिस्तान से, और जो पाकिस्तान में और जो मुस्लिम्स थे जो पाकिस्तान जाना चाह रहे थे इंडिया से, उनकी कंडीशन के बारे में हमने डिस्कशन किया है. बहुत ज़्यादा कम्युनल वायलेंस हो रही थी इस टाइम पर. पंजाब में पहले ही बहुत ज़्यादा वायलेंस हो चुकी थी, लेकिन बंगाल में क्योंकि उस टाइम पे वहाँ महात्मा गांधी थे तो इनिशियली वायलेंस नहीं हुई, लेकिन जब पार्टीशन अपनी फुल फोर्स में आया तो वहां पे भी बहुत ज्यादा कम्युनल वायलेंस देखने को मिली. इसकी वजह से जो दोनों ही कंट्रीज थी, दैट इज इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान, दे डिसाइडेड टू टेक सर्टेन मेजर्स टू टैकल विद द सिचुएशन ऑफ refugees, and as a part of this a particular agreement was signed on April 8th 1950, and this came to be known as the लियाकत नेहरू पैक्ट. उसके बाद में स्टूडेंट्स हमने लियाकत नेहरू पैक्ट के क्या इंपॉर्टेंट फीचर्स थे उनके बारे में बात करी, जिसमें कि माइनॉरिटी कमीशंस को सेटअप करने की बात हुई थी. उसके अलावा एक इंक्वायरी कमीशन को सेटअप करने की भी बात हुई थी जो ये देखती कि कम्युनल प्रॉब्लम या कम्युनल वायलेंस क्यों हो रही है. उसके अलावा स्टूडेंट्स ये एक और पॉइंट था जहां पर था कि मिनिस्टर्स का अपॉइंटमेंट जो माइनॉरिटी कम्युनिटी से बिलोंग करते हैं सेंट्रल और प्रोविंशियल लेवल पर होना चाहिए, और उसके अलावा एक अलग से एजेंसी बननी चाहिए जो कि अबडक्टेड वुमेन थी, रेफ्यूजीज जो थी, उनकी रिकवरी और उनके रिहेबिलिटेशन की तरफ ध्यान दे। अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्टूडेंट्स हमने ये समझा था कि जो लियाकत नेहरू पैक्ट है इसको हिंदू नेशनलिस्ट ने अच्छी तरह से नहीं लिया था। उन्होंने ये पॉइंट आउट किया था कि इससे हिंदूज को कोई भी फायदा नहीं हो रहा है, एंड दैट इज व्हाई देयर वर टू पीपल पर्टिकुलरली हु क्रिटिसाइज्ड इट वेरी बैडली, दैट इज श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी एंड केसी नियोगी। और श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी ने इसके प्रोटेस्ट में आके इसको प्रोटेस्ट करने के लिए नेहरू की कैबिनेट में से रिजाइन भी कर दिया था। अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्टूडेंट्स हमने समझा था द इवेंट ऑफ असैसिनेशन ऑफ गांधी जो कि 30 जनवरी 1948 को नाथूराम गोडसे ने किया था दिल्ली में। इसका एक मेजर कारण ये रहा था स्टूडेंट्स कि जब हम डिवीजन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज की बात कर रहे थे तब गांधी ने फास्ट अनटू डेथ किया था पाकिस्तान को उनका कुछ एक अमाउंट दिलवाने के लिए, जिससे हिंदू नेशनलिस्ट बहुत ज्यादा चिढ़ गए थे, एंड उसी को एक मेजर कारण माना जाता है कि महात्मा गांधी का असैसिनेशन हुआ था। ऑल्सो स्टूडेंट्स जब महात्मा गांधी का असैसिनेशन हो गया था उसके बाद में 4 फरवरी 1948 को आरएसएस को बैन कर दिया गया था। ऑल्दो इनका डायरेक्टली महात्मा गांधी के असैसिनेशन में कोई हाथ नहीं था, लेकिन ऐसा माना जाता है कि इनका पंजाब वायलेंस में हाथ था, इसलिए इनको बैन कर दिया गया था, लेकिन ये बैन 1949 जुलाई में लिफ्ट हो गया था। Apart from the students, the next important point was the first general elections that had happened in 1950. अब 1950 में इंडिया की कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन फॉर्मली पूरी डेवलप हो गई थी, इसीलिए गवर्नमेंट ने बोला कि जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के प्रोविजंस है उसके तहत एक जनरल इलेक्शन होना चाहिए लोकसभा बनाने के लिए। इसको देखते हुए स्टूडेंट्स सबसे पहले इलेक्शन कमीशन बनी 1950 25 जनवरी 1950 को। जो पहले चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर बने वो थे सुकुमार सेन, और इस टाइम पे स्टूडेंट्स जब पहला इलेक्शन होने वाला था उस टाइम पे 14 नेशनल पार्टीज थी और टोटल 53 पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज थी। अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्टूडेंट्स फिर हमने समझा था कि इलेक्शन के क्या मेन आइडियाज रहे, क्या कितनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज थी, किसने सबसे ज्यादा वोट जीते एटसेट्रा। तो उसके अंदर हमने देखा था कि टोटल हमारे पास में 401 कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज थी, जिसके अंदर 489 सीट्स थी, जिसमें कि इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस ने 472 सीट्स पे कंटेस्ट किया और 364 वो जीत गए, जो कि एक बहुत ही बड़ी मेजोरिटी थी। और उसके बाद में स्टूडेंट्स पहली लोकसभा जो बनी थी वो 2 अप्रैल 1952 को बनी थी। इसमें स्टूडेंट्स जो पहले स्पीकर थे लोकसभा के वो थे जीवी मावलंकर, और जवाहरलाल नेहरू इसके बाद में इंडिया के पहले इलेक्टेड प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने। फिर स्टूडेंट्स हमने इस टेबल का डिस्कशन किया था जिसमें मैंने आपको बताया था कि इंडिया में फर्स्ट इलेक्शन के टाइम पे 14 नेशनल पार्टीज थी जिनके नाम आपको याद रखने हैं। आफ्टर दिस स्टूडेंट्स हमने जो नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट स्टार्ट किया था वो ये था कि अब नेहरू जो कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर बन गए थे तो उन्होंने क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट मेजर्स लिए प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनने के बाद। इसमें हमने सबसे पहले नेहरू और उनकी अफिनिटी टुवर्ड्स सोशलिज्म के बारे में समझा, जिसमें हमने सोशलिज्म का कॉन्सेप्ट समझा और इंपीरियलिज्म का कॉन्सेप्ट समझा, और ये देखा कि नेहरू सोशलिज्म को क्यों प्रेफर करते हैं। तो सोशलिज्म एक ऐसा कॉन्सेप्ट है जिसमें जो प्रोडक्शन होता है कंट्री में दैट इज इन द हैंड्स ऑफ द कम्युनिटी एंड नॉट एनी इंडिविजुअल। एंड एट द सेम टाइम स्टूडेंट्स जो नेहरू थे वो जब अपने यूरोपियन विजिट्स पर गए थे तब उन्होंने बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सोशल और लेफ्टिस्ट लीडर्स से मीटिंग करी जिनसे वो बहुत ज्यादा इन्फ्लुएंस हुए। उसके अलावा वो रशिया से भी बहुत ज्यादा इन्फ्लुएंस थे जिसको वो बुलवार्क अगेंस्ट इंपीरियलिज्म मानते थे, और उनको यूएस की इंपीरियलिज्म के तरफ कम अफिनिटी थी। अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्टूडेंट्स फिर हमने जो नेहरू ने फॉरेन पॉलिसी डेवलप करी थी उसके बारे में बात करना शुरू किया था, जिसमें कि सबसे पहले जो कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स उन्होंने पॉइंट आउट किए थे वो ये थे कि इंडिया एक फ्री नेशन की तरह खुद को आइडेंटिफाई करेगी और किसी भी दूसरी कंट्री की सैटेलाइट नहीं बनेगी। उसके अलावा उन्होंने इस नीड को रियलाइज किया था कि हमारे को दूसरे देशों से डायरेक्ट कांटेक्ट रखना है और उनसे कोऑपरेट करना है वर्ल्ड पीस और फ्रीडम के लिए। इंडिया की अगर स्पेसिफिकली बात करें तो नेहरू ने इन्विसार्ज किया था कि इंडिया के अंदर बहुत ही ड्रास्टिक सोशियो इकोनॉमिक और टेक्नोलॉजिकल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस होने चाहिए। अब स्टूडेंट्स फॉरेन पॉलिसी के तहत जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट आगे आता है वो था द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पंचशील विच बिकेम वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडियन फॉरेन पॉलिसी। पंचशील बेसिकली स्टूडेंट्स एक ऐसा कॉन्सेप्ट था जो एक मीटिंग जो इंडिया और चाइना के बीच में 29 अप्रैल 1954 को हुई थी उसमें साइन हुआ था, एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर मीटिंग वाज एन अग्रीमेंट ऑन ट्रेड एंड इंटरकोर्स बिटवीन द तिब्बत रीजन ऑफ चाइना एंड इंडिया। फिर स्टूडेंट्स हमने पंचशील के 5 इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिंसिपल्स को पढ़ा था जो कि एक तरह से यही दर्शाते हैं कि दो कंट्रीज के बीच में म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट होनी चाहिए, एक दूसरे की टेरिटोरियल इंटेग्रिटी को देखते हुए एक दूसरे के अफेयर्स में मेडल करने की जरूरत नहीं है और पीसफुल कोएग्जिस्टेंस होनी चाहिए। अब Apart from the students, हमने ये समझा था that how Chinese premier Zhou Enlai and Jawaharlal Nehru were the main architects of the idea of पंचशील, और उसके बाद में हमने ये समझा था कि कैसे पंचशील को धीरे धीरे यूनिवर्सल रिकॉग्निशन भी मिला, जिसमें कि सबसे पहला रिकॉग्निशन उनको मिला ड्यूरिंग द बांदुंग कॉन्फ्रेंस, जो कि 29 अफ्रो एशियन कंट्रीज की 1955 में हुई थी, जहां पे पंचशील का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है उसको 10 प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ इंटरनेशनल पीस एंड कोऑपरेशन में इनकॉर्पोरेट किया गया था। उसके अलावा स्टूडेंट्स इसकी यूनिवर्सल रेलेवेंस तब इस्टेब्लिश हुई थी जब 11 दिसंबर 1957 को यूनाइटेड नेशंस जनरल असेंबली ने भी इसको अडॉप्ट किया था। अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्टूडेंट्स 1961 के अंदर एक कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई थी, दैट इज द कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ नॉन अलाइन नेशंस इन बेलग्राड, जिन्होंने भी पंचशील को बेसिक प्रिंसिपल की तरह नॉन अलाइन मूवमेंट के एक्सेप्ट किया था। So students, with this we have completed our discussion on Nehruvian era. We will be taking up the other concepts of this particular chapter in our upcoming lectures. Students, if you like our content, please like this video, share this video amongst your friends, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you can be updated whenever a new video is coming up. We also have an app and a website, that is Scholar IAS, wherein we are putting up very important material pertaining to your UPSC examination, which will be very helpful. So please do visit our app and website. Thank you so much and have a nice day.